Hello to anyone watching this. This is the one and only Brittany Hill giving you first insight and what inspired me to make this story that I really hope it will be an official book and will get published soon. This neurodiversity story is called Glass Bottom Boat. The title and the meaning was inspired by the first degree Gemini Sabian symbol, which isn't mine. The glass bottom boat Sabian symbols means to reveal undersea wonders no one else can see, and entering a new dimension of reality that shall not be overlooked. Or, in my words, basically, you're looking deep to the surface in this protected glass no one else can see. Similar to my quote I love saying all the time, the rarest things in the world can be the most beautiful things in the world if you just look deep through the surface. Is how I like to see the Sabian symbol glass bottom boat, and why I chose it is because I like to see the glass bottom boat as a secret symbol representing neurodiversity in my eyes, and seeing the unique abilities and wonders in a neurodivergent that most people cannot see. This book will be for all ages. Everyone can read this story, even though I plan to target more of a younger audience, especially compared to some of my other stories I'm trying to work on, such as Escape, the story of Lighthouse Village. And speaking of that story, if you do not know this about me, I have a huge fear of fish ever since I was 6 years old in SeaWorld. Creating this phenomenal creative photo montage in tribute to my papa kind of helped minimize that fear, as it took me a lot of courage to add a largemouth bass in that work of art without being scared. And I got 100% on the project, but that's not the point. At times, I like to add self-insert traits to some of my characters, such as my fear of fish into both the lead character Tilapia in Escape and the duologist Empathy in Glass Bottom Boat. With both Tilapia and Empathy, their part of their stories isn't about their fear of fish. It is about how they overcome it. Like how I am starting to overcome that fear myself. Especially when coming up with 2 books that focus on the undersea world, so it will encourage us to challenge our fears. Now, getting back on Glass Bottom Boat, the story will feature 2 children that are shown on the cover. There is a young boy with reddish-brown curly hair named Wyse, spelled with a Y like W-Y-S-E. Wyse is on the autism spectrum, but that doesn't mean he's bad. He goes by his name Wyse as he is super intelligent, especially when it comes to his obsession with marine life, and he is very sweet when he wants to be. But at the same time, he is also very introverted and have a hard time showing his emotions most of the times. Glass Bottom Boat is entirely in his point of view, so I find it so exciting and interesting to dive deep inside a mind of another Aspie on a different side of the spectrum, and it's going to be so cool. Fun fact, I already made a scrap version of Glass Bottom Boat a few months ago and didn't get to finish. In this version, the genders were swapped, and Wyse was originally going to be a girl who is obsessed and knows everything about butterflies and flowers. She will act social and willingly talk to butterflies, but really quiet and rarely talks to people. The story used to be in third person instead, and some of the lines are based off my personal experiences, especially with these lines over here I highlighted, such as Wyse skipped to a housing project, swinging her arms gleefully and her head up in the clouds. The front desk lady greeted her. "Hello, Wyse, it's good to see you again." Wyse's eyeballs looked all around the room when waving at her shyly. "A glass bottom boat honestly sounds really confusing." Wyse gave a smirk and spoke timidly. "So does glass slippers." The front desk lady then smiled back. "I see that you're in the talking mood now." "I have no clue what that could mean, but Wyse, ever since you were 3 years old, you were always the first one to finish any type of puzzle. You have a unique gift many of us don't have, Wyse." Wyse stood there with her hands folded, swinging and swaying alongside her feet, staring at the floor, and then the front desk lady. To sum up the character Wyse as he is right now, he is an autistic savvy who is super intelligent and is obsessed with marine life. To sum up, he is super sweet when he wants to be, but he also likes to isolate himself from others. He has a hard time showing emotion or controlling them. And once you read the story, since it is all in his point of view, you'll get to see his unique perspective of life and a sort of robotic tone of speech. But not like that, trust me, it gets better. The second main character is a girl with a beautiful flowing French braid named Empathi, spelled with an I like Empathi. Unlike Wyse, Empathi is very expressive, super emotional, and kind, as she even goes by the name Empathy. I made it unknown if she has any neurological disorders, and a few of her flaws is not only her fear of fish, but to put it nicely, she's a little stupid. Empathy will definitely be one of those characters that have a huge and lovable heart, but a dumb and idiotic mind that at times Wyse even questions her stupidity, not knowing that he was gifted very high intelligence at a very young age, but Empathy was not. Since remember, Wyse and Empathy are children. So now you finally got a sneak peek on our two main characters, Wyse and Empathy. I will not spoil one of the main purpose of Glass Brother both, their friendship. Because believe me when I say the way Wyse and Empathy, both as individual characters and their friendship, has mind-blowing chemistry. And with their development, I do not want to spoil, but trust me when I say it is a subtle and beautiful connection that I am sure you will love. Wyse and Empathy's friendship is inspired by two enduring friendships from children's shows, Theodore and Jeanette from Alvin and Chipmunks, and Nonny and Oona from Bubble Guppies. For Theodore and Jeanette, they are super underrated and I envy their friendship so much. What got me to start thinking of their friendship in a more wiser perspective is not only when Jeanette gave a quote to Theodore, sometimes we go through hardships, we come out being more special. But the main part that inspired me to create Glass Bottom Bold and hopefully other friendships or neurodiversity stories I might come out in the future is this quote from an 80s episode. And friends should like friends, just the way they are. Before the video was removed on YouTube, I saw a comment that agreed on what Jeanette had said about friendship. When I looked closely at the account, I saw it was a mother who has a son with autism. I can totally understand her approval of the quote since I have autism as well and I find it hard to make friends myself, which made me realize that this is why I envy their friendship so much, because of their open kindness, super sweet moments, inspiring quotes, and all in all, an endless, extraordinary friendship that got me started in looking deeper at neurodiversity and one of the inspirations of Glass Bottom Boat. I even made a theory on Jeanette having Asperger's syndrome, mainly because the way I like to describe neurodivergence, such as myself, fits her perfectly, and I love how I am the only one who sees more of that side of Jeanette within this special friendship. But it is not just Theodore and Jeanette that is the inspiration of Wyse and Empathy. The second inspired friendship of Glass Bottom Boat is Nonny and Oona from Bubble Guppies. Now, I know I am not the only person who sees that Nonny is on the autism spectrum, with some of his traits being that he's super smart and he rarely smiles. In my opinion, Nonny is just so autistically adorable and one of my favorite representations of someone on the autism spectrum. Yes, we're still talking about a show called Bubble Guppies. I even wrote in my Dear to Yourself diary entry how embarrassed I would be if I told my future coworkers that I watched a preschool show called Bubble Guppies for my studies on neurodiversity. But despite his obvious differences, Nonny is still treated as if he's one of the kids, and that subtlety is just amazing. I love Nonny so much, heck, I'll even admit I have a crush on him now that I've gotten older, which makes me get jealous whenever he's around Oona! Even though I love to joke around at times in my head how I cannot stand Oona or because she likes Nonny, in reality, I really do like Oona, and even though I do find her a bit dumb, no offense, Oona is just so cute, loving, and kind. Nonny and Oona just have this perfect balance, and the connection works out so well. Pairing up the smart aspect but not expressive guy to the naive but highly expressive girl is so unique. And I cannot describe or think of a single pair similar to Nonny and Oona. It is just a great representation tied in with a unique friendship. The picture you are seeing right now of Nonny and Oona reminds me of a picture 13 years ago of me and my sister. And if you're asking, yes, I used to be the little chubby one in all photos, okay? And especially with these type of neurodivergents, I just find unexpected hugs to be the sweetest form of affection I have ever seen. With both of the inspired friendship of Theodore, Jeanette, and Nonny and Oona shaping Glass Bottom both to this beautiful representation and symbolism of neurodiversity and true friendship it was made to be. The next inspiration is Haley Moss, a lawyer and attorney in Florida who is very open about being on the autism spectrum. I still remember back when I was 13 years old, one of my therapists told me to check out Haley Moss, and that is when I learned how she is similar to me, both on the spectrum and as a person. We both like art, and we both admit that we are super quiet at one point. Returning back to Haley Moss now that I've gotten older, I checked out more about her such as her website, and I see that she is a neurodiversity expert and a great artist and author too, which are most of the passions I decide to pursue as well. I truly admire two of her quotes such as, "I might hit developmental and societal milestones in a different order than my peers, but I am able to accomplish these small victories on my own time." And, "Different isn't bad. It's just different, and that can be extraordinary." Haley Moss is an amazing speaker, and during my awful 8th grade years when I saw autism as a curse, and I still remember writing stuff down about how I'm suffering with autism, all thanks to a certain New York City trip. Haley Moss always encouraged me and the rest of the autistic community that being different and having development and sociology issues just makes us unique and extraordinary. One of my personal quotes is, "What is a good story without conflict?" So opening ourselves to neurodivergence, their passions, their struggles, their victories, and so forth is what I'm planning to do when we look deeper into Wyse in Glass Bottom Boat. Thank you, Haley Moss.
Other people do try to write our narratives, but at the same time, we are the experts on ourselves. I can tell you why certain things are hard for me better than anybody else, more than a professional who studies autism or even parents. I can be the one who explains why a sensory overload is too much. A parent might say, okay, we know that jazz music might be too loud for this person, and I could say, it's the saxophone that really gets me every single time. So often with autism and the conversation surrounding it, we hear a lot from parents and professionals. We don't always hear from people on the spectrum, and that is problematic in itself too. And I also understand that autism is a spectrum, and you might not hear from someone who's nonverbal unless you listen to words that they type or another way that they communicate. But still, it's important to have different voices in that conversation. I think it's important that we tell our own stories so it isn't just inspiring other people, and that my story is not despite of disability. My story is because disability is a part of who I am.
The second to last of the long inspirations is the Cockroach's Megalodon, or in other words, the Megalodon shark. A dangerous, gigantic, ancient and extinct type of shark that will feast upon larger marine animals such as dolphins and seals. I will not spoil too much about how the Megalodon shark will be included in Glass Bottom Boat. Since we are only talking about the inspirations here, all I am going to say is that this is the creature Wyse is the most fond of. I first thought of adding the Megalodon shark as a huge part of the story is when I went to the Cranbrook Science Museum and I saw the Megalodon jaw and a huge photo of how gigantic it is and how it can hunt down and swallow up whales, dolphins, seals, and even modern sharks in this image that I took a few pictures here. Viewing the Megalodon shark exhibit at the Science Museum also reminds me of old Inquistormaster's Megalodon shark stories. Rest in peace. Especially whenever Alex Nerd points out how only 5% of the ocean has been discovered, while with the other 95% leaving it off as a mystery. Helping me learn that despite my fear of fish, there could be so many hidden wonders living deeper in the other 95% of the ocean. including a giant Megalodon shark that might be still living today.
You know what I've always wondered?
What is it?
The ocean is just so deep. Sometimes I wonder if there's any sea monsters that we don't know about yet.
I wonder the same thing sometimes too. You know, only 5% of the ocean has been discovered.
I wonder what's in the other 95%.
Just look at the ocean. Imagine there being a giant Megalodon shark.
Whoa.
But hey, I'd be here to protect you.
Thank you, old Alex. Forever in our hearts, forever in the dark side. May you rest in peace. And finally, I saved the best inspiration for last. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my good friend who I've known for a decade now. It's strange how time goes by so fast. To my good friend, Stefan. I know that usually the more appropriate term to call Stefan is a childhood friend, since we knew each other ever since we were in first grade and we will always go to the social worker and speech group since we are both autistic, but I don't want to use that term childhood friend to describe it because it makes me look old and it always feels like it was just yesterday since I was chewing on a glue bottle in class. So I don't want to use that term, okay? Back to Stefan. He is a super smart kid, and he is not afraid to speak his mind. I could never forget during lunch when he pointed out that the elementary school uses smushed cheese cubes to fill in the mozzarella or Bosco sticks. And also, the last time I checked, he was taking the next grade up on mathematics. Though in elementary school, we were pretty good friends. If you did not know how I was like back then when I was younger, there were times where we would get on each other's nerves. Like in 3rd grade, where we were partnered up for group stations and we had to listen to a storybook in a cassette tape and radio, and he wouldn't stop replaying the story and constantly hitting the replay button over and over again to make it sound funny. When I got fed up, I snitched on him and told the teacher what he was doing, and I got him a yellow card, which means a warning for bad behavior. He looked so peeved at me. But despite some of our fights and differences, we will still get along as we are both more higher on the spectrum. And out of anyone I was with in social worker and speech groups at my elementary school, which at times were pretty small to begin with, he was the most closest friend to me. Also, I still remember he used to talk really fast, which I could tell is slowed down now. Why did I say now? Well, mostly in high school. We have not been seeing each other as much, mainly because we did not have the same class together, so we were not as close as we were in elementary school. But that does not mean we still do not talk or see each other. I still remember when I was getting my sophomore pictures for picture day and I was all dolled up. I did not have my glasses on, I was wearing my new lavender silk dress, and my hair was braided with the color I have chosen this time since I love to put color in my hair was light blue, similar to what I have in this thumbnail. I remember he came to talk to me and he changed so much by voice and appearance as he said something like, "Whitney? No way, is that you? Cool hair." I should have said the same thing about him, but all I said was thanks. And that was not the only time we stopped by and talked to each other in high school, as this happened recently back in November of 2021. When I was getting off the bus to school at the end of the day, and while Stefan was riding his bike, he stopped by to say, "Whitney, hey, long time no see." I was both talking with him and was completely shocked and zoned out at the same time because I was truly amazed how our friendship lasted this long. Which inspired me to make Wyse and Empathy's friendship be one that is long-lasting throughout the years. I'm not going to show you how, but it is just a little hint. And speaking of which, Stefan, if you're watching this video, then I just want to say thank you so much for being a great friend till this day. I always appreciate every time you stop by to talk to me. Always be yourself. I love you, and I hope we get to talk to each other more and see each other again. Keep on being amazing, and thank you, Stefan. So that is all the inspirations and first insight you will get so far. I hope you will get as inspired as I do. Stay tuned for my upcoming Neurodiversity story, Glass Bottom Boat. And remember this quote during reading. In the end, We will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.